Hello, it's Staci Nisbett here, coming to you today to talk to you about the power of the combination of executive coaching and assessment when a person is looking to, how do the kids say it these days, level up on their leadership. 2021 was a year of a lot of change for me. Here at MRG, I took on a new role as vice president, which meant leading a few new parts of the MRG ecosystem who already had leaders. Up to that point, I had previously managed primarily individual contributors. A few months after that change, a member of the MRG leadership team left, and I inherited those parts of the business as well. So that was a lot of new things to take on. And I like a new challenge. So what I did was just dive right in and see what I could do to make an impact. I spent the early part of the year evaluating the various parts of the business, how they were operating, what was important. I reorganized a few things, and then I really worked on building efficiencies and some new operational practices and automated as many things as I could to really help make sure that we were making the best use of all of our human resources on the things that really needed their attention, and we were putting new things in place that would free up some of everyone's time. I think that went fairly well. We ended up hiring a few new team members along the way. One of those new hires took a group of those individual contributors that I had previously managed and started managing them. So that really gave me now the time to just focus on these newer parts of the business that I had taken on in the beginning of the year, and to find the right ways of working with those leaders of those parts of the business. Once a lot of that operational work was done, and we had some of those new efficiencies and systems in place, and Jillian was on board managing the customer service and technology teams, it became really clear that the next level of work for me was on my own leadership. And what was it going to take for me to really step into that vice president role in full? I was lucky enough, thank you, Tricia, to get the chance to seek out the assistance of an executive coach for this work. And at the end of 2021, I did a bunch of interviews, probably with 6 or 7 different coaches. And then I found my match. I think she was the last interview I did, but it was the lovely Rachel Kadosh, who was referred to me by my dear friend Janice O'Rourke. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Janice. I picked Rachel for a couple of reasons. Her approach was really interesting to me and a little bit different than some of the other interviews I had had. She really came at it after listening to what I was doing and the work that I felt was important. She came at it from the perspective of helping me be a better leader to the people who work with me, and then also helping me step into this new senior leadership space and to help me find my voice as it related to the future of MRG, which up until that point, I hadn't really, I think, put my own thoughts around that. So that was a big reason why I decided to work with Rachel. Okay, so now I've got the coach. What do we do first? As you might expect, since we are an assessment company, we did assessments. Luckily, Rachel really uses assessments in her practice as well. So we went about that business, and I took the LEA 360 and the IDI. And then one of our lovely network members, Uli Otto, was kind enough to take me through both sets of data, really talk me through what the assessments were showing me. And then she also generously spent some time together with me and Rachel to help Rachel understand what our assessments were saying about my current leadership practices and what really motivates me. And Rachel used some of her assessments that she typically uses in her practice as well. So I had a lot of data to unpack, and it was a lot. It was overwhelming, but Rachel was really great at taking me through it. We hit the high points with Uli and the high points on the assessments that Rachel used. And that journey of self-discovery and trying to make sense of all of that information was powerful and unnerving all at the same time. And then both a little bit scary, but enlightening. So it was a great experience. Assessments can give you that really impartial set of insights about yourself that you can't really always access on your own. And that sometimes it's hard for people to share with you in a one-to-one situation, and you get to get some of that information from them through that 360. So So you probably want to know, what did I learn? Well, one of the most interesting things was it turns out I'm not really wired for leadership for the sake of being in charge. It's the thrill of moving the organization forward and accomplishing a goal that leads me to raise my hand and say, I think I can help us get there. Let's give it a try. On the assessment side of things, I'm a bit lower on controlling on our motivational assessment, but I'm higher on creating and interpreting and maneuvering and winning, which to me says what I really like is to get the chance to be opportunistic and to balance creativity with rational approach and to make an opportunity a success and in the end, ultimately to win. I definitely have a competitive spirit to me. And I think that shows up both in the assessments and how I approach the work. The other big aha moment was all about speed and pace. I am a very quick processor, and I'm also very quick to action. I think in managing the individual contributors that I had in the past, that sort of quick to solution mindset that I had was really helpful to them. They were at times learning new things and coming to me and asking for advice on how to go about something. And the fact that I could quickly process what they said, give them some ideas about how to go about things was probably really useful at the time. But the feedback and the open-ended responses of the LEA 360 made it really clear that, particularly with my newer direct reports, that quick to solution approach was not really leaving space for other ideas, other thoughts to be communicated in the room, if you will. And people oftentimes felt like they weren't getting enough information from me because I was going too fast, probably skipping over some of the details because I had it in my head and thought I was saying it, but I really wasn't. I think when you've built your career on being the manager who can tell you exactly how to solve that problem, shifting gears to being the kind of leader who makes space and acts with intention, it's a lot. It's a big shift, but I was determined and I knew it was the right thing for me to move both my own leadership forward and also to help MRG achieve the goals that we knew we wanted to try to achieve over the next few years. So now what? Got all this information. You understand how people see you and experience you. How do you make use of that information? I think the biggest thing Rachel really helped me with was setting intention in a lot of different areas, setting intention before you go into a meeting, setting intention for the week, setting intention for the day that as you're about to start your day off. We connected that initially to some leadership, some LEA-based behavior change that we knew was going to be helpful. The first was communication. The way MRG measures communication, it's a bit about clarity and how frequently you're giving people what they need to know in order to do their job. So for me, the intention is to get more clear, to decide before I go into a conversation or a meeting what it is I want to convey, and to make sure that I'm explaining the sort of why behind it all. Why are we looking to do this work? How does it fit into the bigger picture? And to continue to communicate that until it feels really clear to everybody. And I've gotten confirmation that they have the clarity that they need in order to take it and run with it for whatever their piece of the work is. The other thing that we talked about with regard to specifically to MRG's behaviors, the behaviors on the LEA was consensual. Asking people's opinions, slowing down long enough, an interaction, in a meeting, in a planning session, to ask people what they think and to really mean it, to make sure that they understand that when they give their opinion, you're going to really take it on board and you're going to use it in your work to help plan where we go with that particular goal or issue we're trying to solve for. And that you're then giving them the chance to go and build the solution. You don't have to always be the person who's telling them exactly how to do it. And for me, one of the big things on that was to ask questions first. And I came up with this little mantra in my head that's always when someone comes into my office with a question about something, the first thing I do is say to them, well, what do you think we should do? Or you go first. So I'm trying really hard to make more space to recognize that my value to the organization can shift from being the one with all the solutions to the one who helps the whole organization grow in their solution building capabilities. One of the things I would say I valued tremendously in the relationship I had with my executive coach, Rachel, was she had this phenomenal balance of helping me hold myself accountable and also being my biggest cheerleader and making sure that I paused to recognize the accomplishments I had made and the intention that I had set for myself. And that I didn't just breeze past that and move to the next set of intentions or the next challenge that I was trying to address. It's really important in an executive coaching engagement or in any type of development that you're trying to do to really understand where you're at in your own process and to give yourself as much grace as you do accountability and discipline for sticking with the plan. Rachel shared this really cool model with me that talks about how leadership change is about going from what's referred to as unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence. And it's this trajectory, right? And in the middle, you have conscious incompetence where you know you're doing it wrong and you catch yourself. And hopefully soon enough, you catch yourself before you actually do it wrong and you get to this idea of conscious competence. And then you're doing that so regularly that eventually it becomes unconscious competence. That model really helped me, I think, be a bit easier with myself and to understand that you're going to go back and forth between those places. And you may get all the way to the point where you're doing unconscious competence, and you bounce yourself back to conscious incompetence. It's a work in progress. It's something that you have to push hard at every day, and you'll get there eventually. The other big thing that Rachel encouraged me to do, which wasn't really that hard for me because I do like to share, but it was, she referred to it as advertising. So I talked a lot about the work I was trying to do, in particular with the direct reports that I was working with. I shared the things that I had identified or had not acknowledged were the places I needed to make improvement based on that 360 that they had all participated in. And I just constantly shared that was what I was trying to work on and that I wanted them to feel comfortable telling me when the things I was doing weren't working for them or I was getting in their way. And I think sort of that advertisement really takes away the struggle that some people have with acknowledging that they're doing that kind of development or that we have something to change or improve. Conscious and unconscious competence and incompetence model was really powerful for me. And that advertisement, I think, really just opened me up and showed my own vulnerability with my team. And I think allows them to understand that it's okay to be vulnerable back with me and to say, well, I don't understand what you're saying. Or I'm not sure what you're asking me to do. Or I had an idea, but you didn't give me a chance to share that. And I'd really like to share it now. So I think I've made good progress. There's still, as always, work to do. I'm continuing that work and enjoying the journey.